Okay, so whenever I was looking on how to install my amp in my car, I couldn't find any videos really showing how to. So this is how I installed my subwoofer and amp. So one of the hardest parts, at least for me, was figuring out where to run all the wires from the battery all the way back. And this is the SE version, so it doesn't have the factory amp from Sony. So there wasn't any power wires running back there, and plus I probably wouldn't have used them anyway. So I went ahead and ran kicker wires all the way back. I did 4 gauge just so I'd have plenty of power if I wanted to. But you can see that I have the power wire here that comes out of the battery, and then the fuse box just right on the battery box. So it's really nice and close, which is good. You want the fuse as close to the battery as possible. And then I run the power wire all the way back along the factory wiring and then up through the factory grommet. So you can see how it's sealed there and zip tied all the way along. So that was the best place that we could find to send the wire through, because if you open up the glove box, then up here there's a hole, and you could actually after you cut the grommet with a utility knife, then you could shove the wire through and you could actually reach it through that hole, and then it comes up behind this plate here. You can see the wire coming through right there. And then once you have the wire into the body, then it's pretty smooth sailing from there. So you go ahead and take this weather stripping off. It just peels back really easy. So you peel all that off, and then you take off the center panel here, and then you can pop off both of these. I didn't take this plate all the way off, I just popped it off at the bottom, and there's a channel where the power wire can run through really easily. And I mean, it's 4 gauge wire, it's pretty thick, and it went through the channel really easy. So then you do the same sort of thing on the back door. You take off the weather stripping, and then you pop this loose a little bit. There's a thing there that keeps it secured to the body, but you go ahead and pop it off. You can slide the wire through. Then now this piece here, it's all one piece up to here. So what I did, I went ahead and ran the wire back so it just came through this opening. There's a little bit of a gap between the carpet and this frame piece anyway. So I just went ahead and ran the wire through there using a hanger and then pulled it through. Okay, so now for the signal wires, you need to hook the speaker wires from the front speakers, because if you hook into the back speakers, I had heard that sometimes factory radios don't push the full sound all the way to the back speakers. So I went ahead and hooked into both the front speakers. I'll get the which wires you take and like splice into, but to take off the factory radio, you just go ahead and underneath here there's usually like a little plastic clip. You take that off, and then there's 2 Torx screws. You take those out, and then the whole radio just comes out and away from the body, kind of clips out. And then there's a pin connector right in the middle, so just whenever you take it off, be careful and get that connector off. Then this whole faceplate just comes off, and then you can just take a couple screws out and pull the whole radio out from back behind here, and then you just splice into the wires. I just used some vampire clips to do that, and it worked just fine. Or I'm not sure what they're actually called. I just call them vampire clips that you can splice into an existing wire. But yeah, just one thing, be careful whenever you take the radio out. My brother, he helped me, and we scratched up this part here, but not really a big deal, but just something to be careful about. But then for the signal wires, we ran them back from the radio. You can actually kind of maybe see them inside there, and they come across the top here and then down into this panel. And then you do the same sort of thing that you do with the power wire. You take off the weather stripping, and then you pop off this piece, and then there's a channel that runs all the way back. The wires come back, and then the same sort of deal as the other side. They come through this gap that was already there, so there's plenty of space. And I have more than just the speaker wires going. Got the two blue and gray wires are the speakers, and then these wires are for LEDs. For my amp, I did not need a line out converter. Some amps will need a line out converter, which takes the factory speaker level and converts it down to a lower level that the amp can accept. Some amps will take they'll have a different plug that you plug in on the side that you can plug in the speaker wires, or some of them you'll need to get a line out converter, like the LC2I and stuff like that. But this one didn't need it, and so far the quality's fine. It's got a auto detect on it, so it just detects the signal and turns itself on. The other great thing about this was I did not need a remote wire, because the amp detects the signal from the speakers and turns itself on. So that was great. I didn't have to run it into the factory speaker wires or anything like that. But yeah, so that's kind of how I installed it. If you have any questions, just ask. Thanks. Bye. So the wiring kit that I got was this kicker wiring kit. I got it from Amazon for about 60 bucks. It was a great deal. 4 gauge. They accidentally sent me the 4-channel kit. I only ordered the 2-channel, but I was splicing into the factory wires anyway, so I didn't really care. But yeah, I mean, for 60 bucks you can't beat it, and at Best Buy it was like 150. So this is just a great deal. If you haven't gotten your wires already to install any amp or subwoofer, just get good quality wires. This, you can see there's a part that I cut off. I mean, that's all the wires that it gives you. It's a true 4-gauge kit instead of a lot of them that'll be, you know, I don't know, almost 8-gauge whenever you're paying for a 4-gauge kit. And you can see it came with all of these grommets and their connectors and everything, or not grommets, but yeah, they're nice connectors. You can see I put heat shrink over the inside and then cover them up with this nice outside, and I mean, it gives it a nice solid connection and everything. It's a great kit, and plus it comes with this I think it's a 16-gauge wire to run to your speakers. But I mean, it's pretty nice wire, and it's great. So I definitely recommend getting that, and I mean, that has everything you need. And along with having nice wiring, you can see inside for the motor, like the engine bay part, it has a really nice like wire shroud around it that keeps it protected from the heat. And you can see I have it wound around, and then has nice heat shrink around the edges where you put it into the fuse box. Has this nice fuse box. And the other thing that I really liked about it was that the fuse box was not already installed, like it came separate. So you could run your wires and then cut the wire and make it fit into the fuse box. So that was great for me, because I wasn't sure where I was going to be able to mount it, and then this box ended up fitting perfectly right there, so it's easy to get to and everything if the fuse blows. But yeah, this was a great kit, so definitely recommend it.